So one of the first things that, obviously, that you want to know when you first get here is this animal's dead. You don't want to walk up to an animal that's almost dead, especially of this size. He could be injured pretty easy. So a couple things right off the bat. We found the broadhead, so we know it's not in the animal. We don't have to worry about there being a broadhead in the animal. So that's, one of the things you want to think about when you get here. And then you want to position this animal. You're going to be working on this animal for a half hour, 45 minutes or so. And so you want to get this animal, you want to have some sort of a plan. It's a large gut bag in this animal, so what are you going to do with it? You want to make sure it ends up downhill, kind of away from you. The flies and the bees are going to be coming out here pretty soon, and as soon as we open this carcass up, we want to get the flies and the bees away from us. So one way to do that is with the hooves and the forelegs and the gut sac and all that, the fluids and all that, we want to get it, we're going to put it down up against that log down there. And then eventually, as the animal gets a little lighter, we'll probably scooch it up here into this open flat to work it over in the shade, and we'll leave the guts and whatnot down there. So, the legs. I always start with the front because they're the easiest. You're looking for a knuckle. Hey, when you're doing a leg, you want to use a knife. You're probably not going to be doing your skinning and final finish work with, because you're going to end up doling the thing. So you look for the knuckle. The front legs are easy. Just kind of go dead center.
Look right down at his knife.
See this?
Cool.
Dead center. And it's okay to cut right through the hair on these. So you're looking for the joint. I don't know if you can see it in the back there, but just feel around there. See, I found it right there's the joint. You can usually cut the front legs off without a lot of trouble. Right here on this side, sometimes you'll have a little issue. Once you get them this far along, set your knife down, kind of turn them like this, and give them a little twist, like that. Pull them back, and then go ahead and cut through that. Finish that front leg off. Like I said, we'll move that stuff out of the zone. Same thing. You're on a searching mission here for the joint. Feel around in there until you see it. You can kind of see it starting to expose there. I usually just get the front of them like that, and then same thing, kick them into a 90. Give them a little pop. Finish them off. Now, those are the easy ones. These two, a little different. And I'm about, 75. You see, getting stiff. Let's help over here. I'll stand them up like that. These are deceiving. If you hang your meat by this tendon right here, you want to save this tendon, meaning you got to keep it hooked to the bone. So you cut back a lot. You'd think you'd cut right here. You cut back farther. So see how that popped as soon as I touched it? I'm way behind this tendon. This joint is way down the leg. There's a couple of them in there, and if you miss them, that's a bummer for hanging your meat. See how easy that was? If you do it right, it's I'll explain to you when we get there why we're a little more fussy about this thing. Same thing, get a little pop. Okay. Again, naturally you'd want to cut the leg here. It looks like the joint. You want to get up here on this straighter part where the straight just starts to taper. Clear up here. See how they just laid right down?
Can I have this?
See how that just went limp? Going through the tendon.
Dad,
Anyway, there's a lot of, what?
can I have that leg?
You can have the leg, sure. Like an old, hell no. Anyway, same thing. There, a little pop. Got the rest of the top of the tendon.
Nice.
There you go.
Oh.
Now obviously, this doesn't always work out as good as this one did. In that it's not always in the wide open. It's not always flat. But this is good for the video. So I get in here in the back, grab a hold of his business here. This is where I start in the center. And you get behind his business. Down alongside the sheath there. Kind of down the side of the sheath. All the way to the sack. You cow hunters won't have to deal with this. Now, one of the things you'll see me start to do eventually is not cut through the hair with my knife. When I get down into this area and after I finish this part of the process, I'll stop cutting through the hair because it just makes a mess. Cutting through the hair. You can see how I did there, and it's putting hair on it. But you'll cut up from about here down. So this is going to go clear to the rectum. You're just going right down between the hams, and you're just lifting this sheath right off of it's on the outside of the body, clear to there. So now we're headed for the bung via right between the back legs, and now you're going to find out that the sheath is connected to the bone, connected to the animal. It's been loose all the way through here, obviously not connected. Now we're going to start making a little circle. We're going to start right here. And we're going to head for the bung. Down the side. The back of the ham. Heading for the bung, and you're just going to make a complete circle around the bung. So you're going to detach the sheath right here. It's from the carcass, from the bone there. Get your head down. Just getting dull. Normally, of course, you don't have a whole army of people with you. Kind of nice. Well, there's the bung. I'm just gonna do like I told you and go around it. So now I've gone around it. Eventually we'll pull all of this out. Some people pull it out through the animal, and some people go the other way. So now you're starting to probably see this cavity. Now there's some difficulty here. I usually switch to a smaller knife, but you've got a lot of attachment here that you got to rip through or cut through to get into the bladder. This is part of the bladder. See this fatty thing right here? Seems to be empty actually. And the goal is to get it all out here. If some urinating happens, it'll happen outside the meat. Okay. And so what you do here is you just start down here. Some people like to cut. You can actually cut through between the hams here and not cut the hams. I don't worry too much about that right now. But so you get in here kind of deep, poke a little tiny hole. You don't want to obviously poke the big green thing here that's inside. It's probably the most difficult part is just getting started. I get like that. I barely wound it with the tip of my knife, and I shove my finger into it. If you shove your knife in there, it's going to be a
Bad day.
bad day for the rest of the day. So I'll just make a little incision there, and then you want the knife blade between your fingers to start out with. Just real careful. in this first initial part here, just make enough room for your hand. That's what you're trying to do. Slide the knife down between your fingers, like that. That way you can't cut yourself. This is probably good for you to watch. See, the guts are blowing out. You got to keep the tip of that knife away, and you're headed for the sternum, which is up here by Dee's thumb.
Right here.
Right between the, right in the rib cage there. So I'm headed for the sternum. So far we don't have any green nasty stuff happening yet. By the way, I've had happen before. Just need to hide out of the way first. Very easy to poke this thing. The longer this animal lays here, the worse this part gets because it starts to swell from all the gases. So now you're going to run into, about the time you hit the sternum, there's the sternum. You see that fleshy cartilage right here. I just split through it. Once you get to that, there's two cavities in here. There's a gut cavity and heart and lungs cavity on this side. There's a whole flank of meat that separates these two cavities. We're just going to the first flank of meat right now to get this out of here. Okay, I'm going to work on trying to detach this. You'll reach up here. Right about here is going to be the liver. It's on this cavity. It's not in the heart and lungs. It's with the gut. So we're going to roll this animal over. We don't have a real good small knife for this right now. So obviously the head's going to be a problem, so you want to turn the head first. Re-roll it. There we go.
The way you do it.
That's kind of how you flip one over.
I actually can. How does
He had that
out of
leg
his
back.
shoulder? Huh? He had that leg back, this leg forward.
I'm going to stay with Grandpa's knife here.
You went too far over, didn't you?
No, that's fine. So we were fighting gravity a little bit there, and now obviously the gut has come away and the liver has come away from the backbone by being down here. Now everything's hanging down instead of me fighting it the other opposite way. So this is one of the most difficult parts because you're blind. So you're looking for the liver. You've seen it, you know what it looks like. And I'll get after, usually you want a knife you can hold in your hand. Obviously you don't want to hold it open. Cut anything here. So. A lot of times you can push your hand through that flank of meat I was telling you about, the two compartments, and pull it off the backbone. So I'm not even using a knife right now. I normally don't do this. Normally I just cut around with a knife. So. Okay, I cut it loose from the backbone. You're basically just trying to give yourself some room here. Okay, now I'm going to cut this flank of meat. I'm cutting all along here towards the sternum on the top half here. It's opening up the lung cavity. And now the liver should be coming out. There it is. Now I'm connected here, and I'm connected to all the bone material as well. So that original cavity that I was talking about. See how the tail's moving now? I'm gonna stick my hand up in there. And I'm gonna work all the attachment off, just like that. Now it's out of the animal. They say there's about 5 gallons of blood in one of these. So now I'm cutting the bottom side of this thing that goes through here, this cavity that separates the front and the back. It's really the only thing holding these guts in this animal right now. So here's a liver. Never seen one. I'm gonna attach this right here. So that's about all that's hooking the liver up right there. Kind of see what that looks like. Taking the liver off. Now I usually try to find a nice mossy place to lay that down. You're going to soak it in some salt and water tonight if you like liver. And that'll pull any bile or poison you might have in it out. You don't have to worry about it on a shot like this. So this is that flank that I was telling you about. This flank of meat. You can see how I ripped it and cut it and did different things to get it out of here. This is the top one. Lays in there just like that. Now I'm going for the bottom. It just makes a big circle. I'm trying to work it loose. Which I just did. So, now the guts are out. So once the guts are out of the animal, this is a gallbladder there. This is the piece I was cutting off right here. It goes right through here. You can see that. Heart and lungs are still in there. So we've got the back cavity clean. We're gonna roll these downhill. Now I'm gonna pull out the heart and lungs. The game here and the difficulty here, we haven't cut the throat of this animal. You guys at Cape, you know all about this. You don't want to cut the throat if you're gonna Cape. But the throat and the heart and the lungs are all hooked together. So it's really difficult to get this heart and lungs out if you don't cut the throat. The windpipe is what I'm talking about. But I'll just reach up in there and clip it from this side. So I'm going to be reaching clear up into there. Oh, there's an arrow right there.
Yeah, there should be half an arrow in there still.
Like I said
No
before,
broadhead.
like I said before, the broadhead wasn't in there, but sneaky here. We're just actually about done with the gutting process. So you just get up in there.
Go with the deer knee.
Trying to get any blood on you. As far as I can. Cut the windpipe. We'll probably have to deal with some of it later. Once you get it wounded, you cut the windpipe, you stick your finger in it. That's all your leverage. You jerk it out. You want the heart?
Oh yeah, that's why I elk hunt.
Grab a sherry.
The heart, you know.
Okay.
What? Sweet spot or what?
So, I'll show you what I was cutting. Here's the windpipe. Right here. That's what does that. Anyway, lungs, completely full of blood. They're normally white. But his are red because of this.
Right there.
As soon as you injure them,
I clipped the heart at all.
right there.
Yep.
You got some heart. You want to hang on to the heart?
Where is it?
Yeah, this.
Now I've already pulled the pericardium off, which is the sac around the heart. I don't know how or why how I did that. So Derek wants to save this. Dump the clots out. Add that to the...
Liver.
So that is a lot of the weight of the animal over here in this pile.
Double lung and a heart.
Yeah, that's why they only go 20 yards when you do that. Okay. Okay, so that's kind of the end of the gutting portion of our extras video here. And now Derek's going to take over for a little while. So what he's going to do now, you see he's working on the uphill ham there. He's going to make a cut from where his left hand is all the way up to the top of the leg up there on his hip. You're going to cut all the way up through that. I'm going to do the same thing with this leg, cut all the way to the animal on this side. And then we're just going to peel this thing like a banana. We're going to take this whole hide and we're going to flip it back. We're just going to skin our way back and throw this back. We're going to make a rug. And then we're going to flip the animal over onto its rug so we don't get dirt or hair on it. And do the other side and then take it apart in pieces. So we've got half the hide peeled back. And we've laid it out, like I said before, kind of like a carpet. Now we're going to cut the animal into pieces.
Yeah, we'll probably should have the bag ready.
Call it quartering, meaning 4. Usually have 2 bags. I'll let Ethan hold this bag. Try to get half the yolk out, or half the yolk in one bag, half the yolk in the other. That's the goal. So we've skinned it back. You see the backbone right here. We've skinned it back to the backbone because we're going to take a ham, we're going to take a shoulder, and then we're going to take this whole back strap, sirloin, everything off of here to the backbone. Cut the neck meat off and then flip the animal over. Actually, I usually pull the tenderloins first. But
a little hacky there.
yeah, we won't do that in this video. So here's the backbone. You see this white thing right here? And there's that right here, lung cavity right here. So you go by the cheek here and you cut around this bone. You'll just kind of feel your way around it like that. See, there's a little bone sticking out there. We're going for right down the spine, right to about where this back strap stops. See this white spot here? About right in here. And then you cut straight down. So you cut. Now you can see it really good right there. So I cut along the spine right here. This is the spine. This is the pelvis. I'm working that pelvis. The goal is to try to keep as much meat on the ham as you can. And you're headed for they call the ball and socket. I'll just do one of these so you can kind of get an idea. So I come in the back, this is where I start. I get close to the ball, it just popped actually, I didn't want to do that yet. So the ball and socket's right in here.
You don't always got another guy holding stuff for you.
No,
You just down in a big hole by yourself.
If you have a piece of rope, it's good because you can tie that thing off to a tree, and there's other ways when you're alone.
Keep the dirt and stuff off it.
So now we're going to trade places. And I'm going to head for the ball and socket on this side. Just dead center. Cutting right towards the pelvis. First thing I do. And then I start working back up the pelvis from where I was. And it's just going to come apart. At the end you're looking for the ball. And it actually is a ball. It'll be the only thing holding it together here. There it is right there. See that? That's where you're headed. I'll buck this off of here. Finish it up. Ethan. Drop that down in the bag. That's one. Now the shoulder,
No socket on there.
no socket. That thing isn't even really hooked to the elk. It's kind of a strange phenomenon. You're just gonna make a diagonal cut all the way through this animal, clear to here. Scapula's here. You can kind of see it here. You can cut all around the scapula and it just comes off. Don't ever see a bone. You can leave as much meat as you can. Or want
Kind
to.
of bloodshot on this side.
Yeah, this is there.
Is that all of it?
So, again, just cutting towards the backbone, making a diagonal cut. I'm up in the neck meat there. That's a little neck meat. Now it's almost off of there.
Do you want me this other bag?
No, we're gonna put it in there. Here, trade me. See how that's just, there's no bone, no nothing holding that to the animal. Once you have the two of the legs off, then I go for the back strap. You can see where the animal changes color from all of this tendon and stuff in here to the rib cage. There's a line right here. This is one huge piece of meat going all the way up the neck. And it starts right here. Again, I start the backbone, right down the backbone. Just kind of going all the way up the critter. Look the knife along there.
Thing's got a lot of meat.
Big old tendon here. To the neck.
I heard of something once.
What?
That this stuff, this yellow stuff,
Uh-huh.
is what the Indians used to use for their bowstrings.
Huh.
That stuff is really. It's actually not a tendon.
What
It's
is
actually a name I can't pronounce.
it? Huh.
Just what I heard.
I don't
Saying
know.
it's true, but it's
Could be.
sounded like it was pretty true. And then they dry it and it tightens up and does all this, and they can string it
Oh,
out.
it's a weird
Yeah,
thing.
it's like stretchy.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's take a look at it. So
And it
Derek's
goes way up their neck.
talking about this thing right here. Yeah, it's
And they probably had, the Indians probably had it figured out how to.
it's some
So
weird
it goes
stuff.
way up
I
in there.
see.
It's like
stretchy
weird
and-
stuff. Rubbery.
And it's strong actually.
I don't know much about it. So when you're taking the strap off, you got to be real careful getting through the rib meat here. And you'll kind of see see how there's a different muscle here? That's what you're after. It's right up against the ribs. You want to just follow that muscle along, kind of right down in here. Actually, you can leave that hook to it if you want. Right against the rib cage. See how the rib cage is starting to show rib. And you can just, for the sake of keeping your meat together and the whole packing thing, I try to get clear up here and get the neck meat, much neck meat as I can. You can deal with it later. Anyway, you're just going right down the rib cage now. This is the part that the guy who doesn't shoot the elk gets to keep. I'll just leave that attached too. There's the loin right there. Expose the tenderloin so you can look at it. Normally take that out first. That is the golden breakfast meat there. Obviously this one's good too. So, it's not one of those ones you want to pull on real hard because
It's tender.
it's so tender. if you're going to get an animal out whole, when you get home and hang this beast from the rafters, do yourself a favor and take these out. They're usually just solid blood and they'll be ruined in a hurry. So I take these out when I'm hanging an animal right away. Okay, so back to this strap. It's really hard on knives, that's why I use Derek's. Of course, they're all Derek's. Now what you're looking at here is the best of it all. And once again, we're not leaving a bunch of meat on this animal. I mean, the bear's got to eat something. So I'll come around here to the neck. Again, we're up in the basically hamburger meat now, but the goal is to try to keep some of it hooked up. This is my theory, I don't know. Nobody's ever told me that. Okay, so that's half the elk. Now, we're gonna flip this animal over and do the other side. Put the rest of the animal in another bag. At the very end, we try to salvage, before we flip it, we try to salvage every bit of meat that's not ruined before we put it over and expose it, put it in the dirt basically. So that's kind of how it goes. We're gonna sign off for now and deal with the rest of this animal, and then when we get all finished and get it bagged up, we'll have a little information on how to put it on your pack. So kind of the last thing I wanted to say, we got the animal taken care of, all butchered and sacked, and we're getting ready to head out. But one of the things I wanted to point out, everybody has their own theory about packing meat. Of course I have mine, and I'm sure it's the right one. But I like to get my weight as high as I can when I'm packing an animal out. I have a little trouble with my lower back, and if you've got a long way to go, this is really going to tax your lower back. So just a couple little bits of information from experience. I turn the animal's hams upside down. What I mean by that is I put the bone down, the leg bone down, so that the ham bone is up, which seems really backwards. You'd think you'd put all the weight on that shelf down there and let the leg bones stick up out of the top. What it does is it puts weight up way high. I've done it both ways. This is 100% better as far as I'm concerned.
Especially if you got a long pack.
Especially if you have a long pack. It'll wear you out having all that weight right on your butt and on your lower back. It's better to get it up high where you can have a little more balance. So that's that bit of information. The other thing I'd like to say, when you're packing, you'll have to have help usually getting up if you're going to do a half an elk. We're going to do a half an elk each, try to get the whole animal out in one pack. You'll have to have help getting up, so you'll crawl into your straps and you'll have your partner push down on you as you stand up, and that just kind of helps you to balance in standing up. Once you get up, keep your arms in when you're walking. If you start to fall over, use your leg. Don't reach out. If you start to fall because of the weight and you reach out, you will go down and probably be upside down, twisted up, and hurt. So I've been there, done that as well. So anyway, when you're walking, I wouldn't necessarily put my hands in my pockets, but I'd keep them in here close like this. And like I said, keep your weight high. You'll have a lot better look. Look for logs along the way, yay high off the ground, so you don't have to sit back down on the ground again. You can just sit down and rest the heels of your pack down on the log, and you'll be hanging from the pack then, so to speak, and you'll be able to keep the blood flowing and prevent an injury. I had a friend who crushed a disc in his back doing this, and anyway, it's just something you need to be conscious about and careful. And so I'd like to say a little prayer. Why don't you guys come over here, Ethan, and we'll just thank the Lord. one of the things that we believe is that everything happens for a reason. Today happens to be Sunday morning, and I was headed for church this morning. Saw these elk last night, as I said. Dee was going to put a hunt on them. I opted to go to church. I usually don't hunt on Sundays, but got the call early, and it was Derek saying, "I got one down, Dad," so here I am. Jesus got a lot of flack from healing on the Sabbath, from doing good works on the Sabbath. A lot of the religious authorities and leaders in that day put a lot of pressure on him because he did acts of kindness, acts of love on the day of the Lord, or of the Sabbath. I had a choice to make this morning. I could either do an act of love and come and help my son, or go to church. And I think Jesus would have come and helped him. So that's why I'm here. And I just like to pray and thank the Lord for the success of the hunt. We all still have our fingers, and this blood is not ours. So I'm thankful for that. So let's pray, guys. So Lord, we thank you for this beautiful morning, for this beautiful place on this earth that you've created. And we thank you for the blessing of this animal that Derek's been able to harvest today. We know that you're involved in everything that we do, and everything does happen for a reason. And we just want to give you the glory for today, and for the success of today. We want to ask that you would help us to make it out safely, and just continue to be with us. Thank you, God, for Jesus, for salvation, and for the life that we get to live, the abundant life that we get to live on planet Earth. In Jesus' name, amen.